So, Perry the Platypus, tremble in fear before the most twisted, nightmarish creation the world has ever known!
Doof, Dr. D, Heinz the Ocelot, Dr. Heinz Doofenschmirtz, our favorite hapless wannabe villain. Fans of the show Phineas and Ferb will know him for his ambitious innators and his kooky schemes to take over the tri-state area. Bound to get foiled by Perry the Platypus before the end of the show. But have you ever wondered what made Doofenshmirtz into the menace he became? What his tragic backstory is? Well, guys, I know what we're going to do today. Talk about the untold story of Doofenshmirtz. His family life. The story of Doofenshmirtz begins at the Raging Bully. The story, according to him anyway. With Perry the Platypus tied up in his trap, Doofenshmirtz reveals it's his birthday, giving Perry a slice of his cake as he waxes emotional with a speech about the story of his birth. According to his recollection, neither of his parents were present at his birth. Somehow, things get more tragic. Upon clocking 5, Heinz threw a birthday party for himself at Gunter's Goat Cheese, a hometown restaurant. He was surrounded by his closest friends at the time: a wolf puppet, a pig puppet named Betty, a rat puppet, and the Lice twins, Olga and Chicago Joe. Also the performers at his birthday. A man in a cow costume walked up to the table, greeted Heinz, placed a dunkelberry cake on the table, and left. When it started to get too late and the restaurant manager was about to leave, he shouted to Heinz.
Hey kid, lock up when you're done, okay?
Heinz would only leave for home late in the night, cake in his hands. On his way home, he would be attacked by dunkelberry bats, creatures with a special liking for dunkelberry cake. The first time Doofenshmirtz would actually discuss his childhood on the show is Lawn Gnome Beach Party of Terror. He turned to a television screen to tell his story. He recounted a period in his childhood when his family fell on hard times and had their beloved lawn gnome Lorno repossessed. Now, without a garden gnome to protect the family's fruit garden from witches, spells, and wood trolls, and in watching their garden day and night, he had no choice but to stand up and watch while the other children would play. He couldn't even wave to his neighbor Kenny, because anytime he tried to move, his father was right there to yell at him, "Bewattenschnitch," at him. In Got Game, we get more insight into this experience. In this episode, Doofenshmirtz opens up about a puppy his father came home with after winning it in a game. His father named the dog Only Son, saying the dog was like a son he never had. Only Son became an award-winning show dog, bringing his father fame and fortune, while he remained the lawn gnome. In Leaving the Busting to Us, Doofenshmirtz bust his next tearjerker. As a kid, he tried his hand at performing magic tricks for the local kids. Things immediately went south when he performed the pull a rabbit out of a hat trick. He pulled a skunk instead of his pet rabbit Bobo. His next magic trick was a card trick. A girl offered to pick one of his cards while he blindfolded himself. Hilariously, when Heinz removed his blindfold, he was somehow holding the same skunk, which sprayed him again. The next thing we're shown is the aftermath. Yet another trick gone wrong. While Heinz was shouting in a now empty hall for someone to get him loose, the skunk popped up and sprayed him one last time. In Thaddeus and Thor, Doofenshmirtz introduces a brother Roger to his backstory. Through song, he tells Perry the story of the yearly kickball games his mother organized every year during the Doofenshmirtz family reunion. While he sucked at kickball and would lose every time, his brother was an expert at the game. And since his mother's love was always inexplicably linked to kickball, Roger received all his mother's affection. Doofenshmirtz tried his hand at other sports, but despite all his efforts, he would fail because of his lack of coordination. Gaming the systems further explores his relationship with his mother. With Perry the Platypus trapped in a ball gown, Doofenshmirtz recalls how his parents were expecting a girl when his mother was pregnant with him. His mother spent months knitting pretty dresses as a result. However, the baby turned out to be a boy, and unfortunately, Heinz was forced to wear those dresses for an entire year because his family was out of material. Unsurprisingly, this caused his classmates to mock him relentlessly. Things didn't end there with his mother, though. In Make Plays, Heinz talks about the time he was walking through the claw machine district of his hometown when he found a claw machine with a teddy bear in it. He saved up his entire year's allowance and used it to win the bear. He gave it to his mother as a trophy, who immediately gave it to his brother Roger. Roger then wrote his name on the bear with a big red marker, doing the same on his mother's blouse afterwards, claiming both both as his own. In Magic Carpet Ride, Doofenshmirtz tells the story of how Roger, who we discover is the town's mayor, ruined a painting Doofenshmirtz spent days on after overcoming a lot of inspiration by spilling his food all over it. That day, Doof made a vow Roger would pay for what he'd done, getting it notarized the next morning. And this is your backstories, a two-part Doofenshmirtz backstory episode. We find out how he made his way to the United States. This episode would also reveal that Doofenshmirtz is an unreliable narrator, as many claims he made in the previous episodes would get corrected. If we're going by his flashback, at age 16, Doofenshmirtz's mother sent him to a store to get some Dusenbrat, but this was just an elaborate setup by his parents to ship him off to America. Throughout his voyage, he was made to swab the poop deck. When he got to America, he started in high school, unwittingly making one of the most embarrassing viral videos of all time. His social life. Doofenshmirtz had to deal with a terrible family life as a child. Sadly, his social life wasn't any better. He didn't have friends growing up, so he made friends out of puppets and inanimate objects instead. In the Chronicles of Meeps, we learn about one of these friends. Apparently, when he was younger, Doofenshmirtz stank so bad of pork that no one would move near him. He found himself working at the carnival because he got disowned by his parents and was being raised by ocelots. Wild cats? He found a balloon at the carnival, drew a face on it, sprayed it with special lifelong lasting spray he created, and named it Balloony. Balloony was his best friend in the whole world, until one day, when he was standing watch as a lawn gnome, Balloony started floating away, and he never saw it again. Split personality sheds light on another one of Hein's insecurities. In this episode, he narrates how he was too afraid to do a high dive in his hometown's public wetness maker as a child, an important rite of passage. This made him joke of the town, and everyone started to call him Schnitzel. Even more painful, this stained their relationship with his father even more. In Out to Lawn, we're in a space station as Doofenshmirtz relays another one of his childhood traumas. According to him, he was skilled at hand shadows as a teen. He loved the attention it got him, especially the female attention. But then a newcomer named Huge Hands Han came onto the scene and stole the spotlight. Despite his puppetry being garbage, Huge Hands Han stole his girl, and Doofenshmirtz never did a puppet show again. Doof couldn't even catch a break when it came to science either. In Unfair Science Fair, we see Doofenshmirtz entering as a participant in the town's science fair, despite clearly being too old for this. He reveals that he's doing this to make up for when, in his childhood, his first innator, the innator, lost the science fair to a baking soda volcano. After this, Doofenshmirtz gave up on science and decided to focus on poetry instead. Amusingly, he somehow still lost to a baking soda volcano. We're now at his adult life, where we'll make a couple discoveries about the show's villain. To start off, as we'd learned from Backyard Aquarium, he didn't set out to be a villain from day one. As a young adult, he was a bratwurst street vendor. He made very little profit doing this, and he blamed it on the hot dog vendors, who sold much better. He believed that despite the superior workmanship, finer meats, and exotic spices of bratwurst sellers, hot dog sellers sold much more because of their chrome-plated carts, endorsement deals, and fancy blimps. This is the last straw for him. The resentment he developed against the hot dog vendors pushed him to villainy. Frequent watchers of Phineas and Ferb will be aware of Doofenshmirtz's only child Vanessa. That sinking villain sheds more light on life after his divorce. After he parted ways with Charlene, he couldn't find a house that suited his taste. That is, until he came across a magnificent skyscraper with a view of the ocean that would eventually become his headquarters. But upon buying it, he discovers the skyscraper was so cheap because it was next to the Danville Lighthouse. The noise from passing foghorns would keep him up all night long. And now, for our last piece of backstory, an interesting tidbit. In What Do It Do?, Doofenshmirtz tells about one of his first dates, a drive-in theater movie date with Linda Ann Fletcher, Phineas's mom. While they're both sharing their dreams for the future, Linda says she wants to be a pop star. Heinz replies sarcastically, saying he wants to rule the world. Linda Linda didn't seem to catch on to this though, advising him to focus on smaller instead, like the tri-state area. This is where Doof gets the bright idea that would fuel drive his future escapades. The date, however, goes horribly wrong from that point on, and he never sees Linda again. And that's it for the story of Doofenshmirtz, guys. It's a pretty tragic one. Almost makes you feel bad for the guy. What was your favorite part of the video? What interesting new things did you learn about Dr. D? Tell us in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye!